Hey crew, welcome back to the workshop. Artisan Pirate here, and in today's fun scroll saw project video, we're going to be making another patriotic themed project for 4th of July 2026. Again, as I said in the last patriotic style 4th of July video, it is America's 250th birthday, so I felt instead of doing just one project for the holiday like I usually do over here for scroll saw project videos, we would do two scroll saw project videos for the 4th of July here in America. I've already got the pattern printed out to its full size, prepped and attached to our material with clear packing tape, and it's another pattern from the legendary Steve Good pattern collection. And this was one of his last patterns that he uploaded in that last group. If you go to his pattern catalog and click new and go through those, you will see this pattern appear eventually in like the second or third page, so to speak. But as I said, everything is printed out to full size and attached to our material, and it's going to be a beautiful American bald eagle with the letters USA at the back attached to a nice backer board. And all the material here came from the scrap bin because I intend to spray paint everything some nice patriotic red, white, and blue colors. But the beautiful American bald eagle is going to be cut out of 1/4 inch material. And what I love about scroll saw projects that have parts in them, I was trying to think how to say this, you could use this eagle head as its own individual pattern. You could cut the eagle out facing this way and then another one facing the other way and have it as nice plaque dioramas or something like that. So always options. You have USA here in big bold font. That's also 1/4 inch material, and then we're going to have the backer board that goes on it as well. So really neat. Shouldn't take too long to cut this out over on the scroll saw now that we are getting into the full heat and humidity of the southern summers where I live in North Carolina. So I was able to get you in and out of your workshop and still celebrate the 4th of July with a creative project made from start to finish over on the scroll saw. If you all missed the last video, we made this patriotic inspired box from an older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine if you want to go over there and view that video. But once again, we are using another legendary Steve Good scroll saw pattern, and since everything is prepped and ready to go, let's move the camera over to the workbench, drill the pilot holes required so we can start making some sawdust over at the scroll saw. And over here on the workbench, we are taking the Seiko scrollers drill and drilling out all of the pilot holes for internal cutting. And you will note that I have a backer board behind the scroll saw work to prevent blowout of the pilot holes on the reverse side. But after all of the pilot holes are drilled, we'll collect our pieces and head over to the Rikon scroll saw and begin scrolling. For all of the scrolling on this project, I'll be using a number 5 Ultra reverse tooth blade, and it will cut through all thicknesses of material in today's project exceptionally well with minimal chip out. If you all would like to try this pattern, it's available as a free pattern download at the late Steve Good's scrollsawworkshop.blogspot.com website over in his free pattern catalog. We miss you dearly, Steve. But when I seen this design, I felt it would be a really cool patriotic design to bring to life for 4th of July, since we are right here at America's 250th birthday. Of course, there is always options and versatility with each and every scroll saw pattern you come across. As I've already said, if you just wanted a nice eagle design, you could use the part we are cutting out here and make it its own individual design without putting the USA or the backer board on it. So always options and versatility. You can see that the eagle has a lot of tight V-turns on it, and you all know how I go about achieving those V-points. I'll go into one side of the V-cut and I'll back out and cut into the waste wood and taper it down to as fine a V-point as the pattern calls for. And just taking my time and letting the blade do the work and being as loyal as I can be to the cut line. If you guys like what you're seeing, I would highly encourage you all to subscribe to the channel and also follow me across all the social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. I'd really appreciate the support. But now we have only one internal cut to do here, and then we can retension the blade and release all of the pieces from the waste wood. and that's simply a matter of following those long outside perimeter cuts. Again, I think we are very fortunate to be alive in the time to celebrate America's 250th birthday, and if there is any 4th of July celebrations in your area, if you are in the good old US of A, I encourage you to get out and celebrate in style. I know my town at the local city park will do 4th of July fireworks, so it's always cool to see those light up the night sky. Again, just following the long outside perimeter cuts here. But it didn't take long at all to cut everything out. And now over here at the workbench, we can get a visual of what the finished design will look like. And I actually like it how it looks here with the natural wood color. And you could totally just leave it at this point and sand it up like we are going to do now with 180 grit Klingspor woodworking shop from Klingspor with the vibrating palm sander here. But we will of course appropriately paint everything a nice patriotic red, white, and blue color, being very careful sanding all the parts and pieces. But before we can add a splash of color, we'll do the initial glue up here of the USA letters, the big bold letter, and then the fragile outline. And the outlines are indeed fragile, so just be careful with those. But after it had dried, I put everything on the little folding clamping workbench and I spray painted it red, white, and blue with Rust-Oleum spray paints. And I'm using a piece of cardboard there to prevent any overspray from getting on the other pieces we have already painted. And while it is drying, I wanted to show you all my late grandfather's 48-star U.S. American flag that is hanging in the rafters of the workshop. It's been there for years and years. But when everything was dry to the touch, it was time to do the final glue up and assembly with more medium grade CA glue and activator. And because this was a painted project, we didn't really have to worry about grain direction. But if you were going to just stain it or use exotic or hardwoods on it, you would have to be aware of the grain directions. But after it dried for around 5 minutes, and I was sure that the glue had grabbed, we went over by the door and gave the project a finish with a few coats of Rust-Oleum clear gloss, and it really made those patriotic red, white, and blue colors pop. And when it dried, the project was complete.
And here we have the completed American Bald Eagle with USA at the base, cut out completely from start to finish over at the Rikon scroll saw. And it finished up beautifully with some nice, creative, patriotic detail just in time for 4th of July 2026 and celebrating America's 250th birthday. I want to once again thank Steve Good, the late Steve Good, for another legendary pattern for scroll saw woodworking from his scroll saw workshop collection. Again, this was in one of those final sets of patterns he released. If you go to his pattern catalog, toggle new and go through those, it should be on the second or third page when you go through them. I can only imagine what kind of creative patriotic designs that Steve Good was going to create for the 250th birthday. You just never know. Steve, we still miss you dearly in the scroll saw community. But it took me around 35 minutes to scroll everything out completely from start to finish. Everything came out nice and crisp. Of course, the standout feature, of course, is the patriotic bald eagle. And in the pattern pack you download from Steve's website or from the emails he used to send out, he finished the one visually in kind of a more natural tone and then added only little subtle colors to it. I opted to go for a total red, white, and blue. Again, everything here is from the scrap bin, and I didn't have to worry about grain direction or anything because, again, we did spray paint everything, and the Rust-Oleum spray paints came out nice and vibrant. And then once we glued everything together, after it dried, the Rust-Oleum clear gloss we added a few coats of there at the end really tied everything together, and it gave it a nice glossy appearance there in the lights of the workshop. It's now ready to have a hanger, and it can hang as a wall plaque throughout the month of July, or anytime if you are just feeling patriotic and want to support the good old US of A. I feel like there's several different finishing options for a project like this. You could, of course, as Steve intended, cut it out of exotic or hardwoods and just add little hints of color. You know, cut everything out of exotics or hardwoods and then just paint the letters, the inside of the letters, red, white, and blue. I opted for total redness with the letters here just to have some red in the red, white, and blue piece we made. And that's 2 pieces of 1/4 inch material that's stacked up. We cut the outside perimeter and then the solid outside letter. The eagle, of course, is 1/4 inch plywood, and then the backer board is 3/16 inch construction grade plywood. And as always, we took our time and let the blade do the work. I feel like if you just wanted to cut out the outlines of the letters, that would be totally cool, and then everything would be one level, so to speak. As you can see here, the letters stick up higher than the eagle, and I always think that's a cool visual with scroll saw projects, especially when you make them in this style, because it gives a kind of 3-dimensional look to it. But when someone looks at it, you can say, hey, with a little bit of time, practice, patience, and effort, you too can make a beautiful and creative design for 4th of July just like this over at your scroll saw in your garage or workshop. So now we have our 2 completed projects for the 4th of July. Our previous one was this patriotic themed box with the inside, after you remove the lid, the cavity is in the silhouette shape of the good old US of A, and now we have the patriotic American bald eagle. That is just a total symbol of freedom here in America, the American bald eagle. They are huge birds, but they are majestic when they are flying through the air. But I feel like if you wanted to just cut this out of exotic or hardwood, you could, of course, let those colors shine through. You could do USA in cedar, you could do the backer board out of walnut, and then you could leave the eagle, the bare color of a lighter material to, you know, let those grain textures shine through. So always options and versatility. And as I said at the beginning, if you just wanted to needed, should I say, an eagle face, you could totally just use that part of the pattern itself and not even worry about the USA or the backer board if you are just a fan of exotic birds and everything. But really, really cool. Everything came out nice and crisp. Of course, there's a lot of those tight V-turns in this project, and you all know how we achieve those. We go in one side of the V, and on the inside cuts, I'll back the scroll saw blade out while it's still running, cut into the negative waste area that'll fall out anyway, and go into the other side of the V and taper it down to as fine a V point as possible. But really, really cool here. Really beautiful patriotic design for 4th of July 2026. And I hope if you are here in the good old US of A for 4th of July 2026 that you go to a celebration, some fireworks festivities, maybe a carnival or festival that's going to pop up during this time of year. You only live once to see the 250th anniversary of a country in any given time, and we are lucky and thankful enough to be living in the time and in the era of America's 250th birthday. As I said when we made the patriotic themed box, we are not a perfect country in any way, shape, or form. No country is perfect in my opinion. There's only one perfect place, but I am happy and thankful to be in the good old US of A. And I hope from the beginning until now, as we are closing the video, you hopefully picked up a tip, trick, or tidbit for scroll saw woodworking out in your garage or workshop. The happy 4th of July 2026 to all of my family, friends, followers, and subscribers here in the United States of America and worldwide. That's going to be about all for this one. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you'll click that subscribe button and follow me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. As always, links to contact me as well as all my social media feeds will always be linked down in the description box below these videos. That's about all for this one, and remember, if I can make it or do it, so can you all. I'm the Artisan Pirate. Take care,
and I'll see you all real soon.